Hear me?
What's up, everybody?
You're
Yeah.
you're cutting out. Can't hear you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Hey, hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us for the second installment of the book. Wherever you go, there you are. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. We are on, I guess, reflection 190. It's book two of two, but it is 190. So let's see what Chris got on for today, and we can talk about it.
Yeah. So this is the second reflection, part two of wherever you go, there you are. Following up on yesterday. So this particular book, just a recap, is a book about mindfulness and meditation and how to bring that to your everyday life. Really short book, really impactful book, a book that I plan to revisit, many times throughout the course of my life going forward. I think it's a great reminder to connect into the here and now, and to keep yourself kind of grounded in the present a little bit, and to be just fully present in the present. And like we talked about yesterday, where not just to find that magical sweet spot of the flow state, but also enjoying the flow state while you're in the flow state. So not just finding in the flow state, like with aligning with your values, and the meaningful work that you do, but also enjoying, aligning with those values. That's like the absolute sweet spot of life, right? Is like, not just being in the moment, but also like understanding that you're in the moment, and reveling in that, and then just letting life happen. So this particular reflection is about letting it go. So conscious living versus conscious doing is what I was talking about. So I don't know if I'm coining a phrase here or not. I don't know. I haven't heard this from anywhere else, but like this is something that I'm officially dubbing a word that I'm coining, of conscious doing. So to me, what conscious doing is the act of deliberately performing actions that only align to things that you really care about at most of your core, i.e., your values. The things that you value most in this world, and deliberately performing those actions every single day and as much as you possibly can. For me, that is thinking ahead of, I love, to learn. So I'm going to actively go and actively learn in some way, shape, or form each and every single day, because I know that this is, something that aligns to my mission, my purpose, whatever it may be, right? So I think for me, summarizing all the stuff that we talk about, for me, sums up into the words conscious doing. It's like, it is deliberate action that is aligned to your values and your purpose and your mission every single day. And you are moving forward toward something. You don't know where you're going, but you know how to get there, right? And that is the act of conscious doing, right? So that said, most of this journey, it has been around understanding your values, understanding what that conscious, understanding the activities that relate to that you can draw back to, all to the concept around conscious doing, and making sure that you are just marching in the direction that you want to march, and the activities you're doing along that path are stuff that you really enjoy every single day. So that said, it's awesome. Conscious doing is awesome. Like it's actions that have a purpose behind it, and it feels great to feel like you're aligned with the present and the future, with whatever. I don't know where we're going, but like, it just feels great to feel like you're aligned, and that's the whole point of doing all this stuff, right? And I thought that was the secret to all this, but like this book, like we talked about yesterday, brought up the here and now, that I had been scared of, for a really long time, because the last time that I was in the here and now was one of the worst times of my life, and I was like, I don't want to be in the here and now. I'd rather be marching forward, but doing the stuff that I want to do, i.e., conscious doing. This book, the author talks about something that he likes to call conscious living. So conscious living to him is the art of connecting your mind and your consciousness with what you're doing in the present moment, no matter what it is, like just anything. Like we were talking about this yesterday. You're taking a shower. Are you consciously living? Like, are you in the shower? Like, are you taking the shower? The answer for me a lot of times is no. Like, I mean, and I don't really care, because the only things that I care about being conscious that flow state that we talked about yesterday. This was the synopsis of what we talked about yesterday, was that flow state and being conscious of that. That's conscious living and conscious doing coming together, and that's like magical, right? But everything else, you can still have conscious living where there is no goal, there is no quest, no purpose, no meaningful activity, like no why, no nothing. It's just you're being in reality, right? And that sounds boring as hell. Like that sounds not fun at all. And I, the author, talks about, like, the funny thing about meditation is, if you find yourself finding meaning in meditation, you're probably doing it wrong. And he's like, and if you think that you're improving in your meditation, you're probably doing it wrong. If you're preaching to others how good you feel from meditating, you're missing the whole point. Like, it's the whole point is to connect to the conscious living state of just being, like that's it. Like that is the whole freaking point of like just existing, and connecting to that moment. There is no good or bad meditation. There is no nothing, it's like the whole point is to just feel like nothing, almost like how I felt after Amelia had passed away. And I hate that thought. Like that thought sucks. But if you did it intentionally, like there is some benefits to that, because sometimes you just feel light and free and you just can let it all go, and you can like just release, all the purpose and all the meaning and all the conscious doing, and sometimes just be and float. And this is a big lesson for me, is sometimes just letting go and being, even though it doesn't sound appealing, it doesn't fuel my dopamine, it doesn't do all that other stuff. There is some damn really important good value that can come from just being, as well, and not trying to improve and not trying to do anything and not being outcome driven and all that other good stuff. So that was the reflection from today, being more conscientious about conscious living, and even though it's kind of hard to grasp sometimes, and also kind of hard to understand the value of it, I think there is value in it, and I think this journey has helped me to find more value in just conscious living, versus conscious doing. And then, as you mentioned yesterday, the sweet spot is when you do both at the same time. Like that's like, heaven, basically. But yeah, I'd love to pause there and get your thoughts.
Yeah, so like maybe I need to go back to yesterday and kind of bring some of the pieces that we talked about yesterday. We're talking about the dopamine, right? The molecule more versus the molecules of here now, the oxytocin, right? And to me, a dopamine kind of give you a little bit of a feel good feeling, but it's like there's like a bitter aftertaste to it, because when I have these, like I want to kind of like see myself in the future 5 years, 10 years from now. I'm kind of like encouraged and enthused about it, but at the same time I'm also anxious about it. I'm not completely like let it go.
Right.
So like what you say in your reflection, let it go. But only when you at a point where you have the oxytocins and you're doing the things that aligns to what you value. It's has no aftertaste effect to it. I mean, there's like, for me, I just feel good. I feel calm. I feel collected. I feel anchored, right? And that's how I feel. Like to me, it's what I would like to be as my like the achievement of a state of mind that I want to get to. And I think that is something that I think can give you a flow state and can give you to be who you are and to let it go. Because when you in that state, in my mind, letting it go means I don't care about the next 5 minutes, next 20 minutes, the next hour, next day. Because if I'm a Mexican fisherman, I'm enjoying this thing. I'm looking at my fishing tool, my fishing rods, or whatever, right? I'm just there. And because that aligns with me, I don't feel anything else. I don't see anything else. I'm not distracted by anything else. But at the same time, I'm not concerned with what the future would hold. What, you know, if something will come up and, swallow me from the bottom of the ocean, I have no anxiety
Yeah.
because of that state. And I think having the meditation where you want to be mindfulness of your current situations and your environment, that could be hell as well, because you look at your perspective from the time when you have to deal with atomic bomb. That is just hell for you, and for you to be facing and be mindfulness at that state, right? I'm not even sure if you or anyone you know can take it. I mean,
No,
it's
no.
so
I
much
mean,
pain. It's so much
you can't.
pain that
Yeah.
I don't think you can take it. So to me, that's why I think a lot of these books I don't 100% agree with it, because they don't give you the pieces that goes before this, right? Because they
Right.
say, hey, you meditate, and you know you don't think about meditation, you don't think about how you feel good. You just say, hey, if you have to talk about to somebody about how good meditation makes you feel, then you're not doing it right. What the hell do you mean? Who said, you know
No,
who
I think that makes a ton of sense. Just so you know, like, I mean, it's funny because it's the whole point of meditation is to just be. There is no
No, I
right or
disagree,
wrong.
because it's not about just be. Because if you were to meditate when you were your atomic bomb, can you meditate?
I could have, and I would have not wanted to. Like, I
You
mean,
can't. No,
like,
you can't. You
oh,
can't, because
I could have. I did. That's all
because
I
the
did
thing is,
actually. I only thought about it.
there's only so much you can take,
Well,
as far
that's
as
my
the
point. Is in
threshold of pain that you can take. And if you don't have any kind of dopamine at that point in time, right? The dopamine is that you have this hope that Amelia will make it. Okay, that's how you were able to get through where the 2 months that you were in the NICU.
yeah. Well,
To
yeah, yeah.
me, without the dopamine, you won't be able to take it. So to me, if you
No.
were to meditate and be practice mindfulness at that time, you won't make it either. You're gonna go
Well,
into a depression, and you probably gonna have this PTSD, just like the soldiers would have coming back from a war, because there's certain threshold, there's certain level threshold that you can only take. They can not take anymore. That's why I'm saying is meditations is one of those things where it depends on where you are. Are you aligning with your core values? If I asked you, if you would play tennis, right? I mean, how does it feel for you to play tennis versus when you have to do something that you don't like? Maybe be on a sales meeting that doesn't go anywhere, right? That's two different set of emotion that triggers from within yourself.
right.
And I think having a meditation to be, hey, I am in the zone playing tennis, or I'm in the zone in a boring useless meeting. Can you take the boring useless meeting in the meeting, right? Let's say you have to do that for 5 hours straight. Like, to me, like, we tried this before. We tried to do nothing for 30 minutes. It was like,
5 minutes. It was 5 minutes.
in 5 minutes, it was like pulling teeth,
It
right?
is.
That's
It's
what
pretty
I'm saying
brutal.
is being mindfulness at that moment. It's like, I mean, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because that's not where you want to be. Just like you talk about the shower, for you, right? Shower doesn't mean anything to you. I just say, hey, I just had to do something to get myself clean, but it has nothing to do with the thing I value. So therefore, why am I meditating? Why am I being mindfulness about taking a shower and feeling the water hitting my skin and feeling it roll down my
Uh,
back or whatever?
that's
What's
the point. Is there's no point. Like, that's what he's trying to say. There is no point to any of this. It is just existing. Like, I mean, and when you okay, so I just
what's
read
the
a.
difference between existing and not existing? If that's not, there's no point to it.
I think that's also the the thing that you can unpack, from all that is okay. So I just finished this book a couple of weeks ago called the Five Invitations. It's about this guy that was the director of this thing called the Zen Hospice Project in San Francisco, and it's like it's a hospice, right, where people go to die. And they specifically started this back in the 80s around like the AIDS epidemic, and that was like one of the epicenters of AIDS. Anyway, so this guy personally has spent I don't know, 30 years of his life and personally ushered helped people, over 1,000 people transition from their last few days of life into whatever comes next, right? And he summarized that book into his 5 invitations that he learned from those people and what he learned from them and during that time. And I think the thing that I learned from that book is and we'll get to those lessons later on, but at the same time, it's the surrender, and it's just being with your pain and being in all that, in that space, and letting go of the conscious
I mean,
doing.
I just think that's stupid. I just think that's stupid to
hang on.
being with your pain is like, go back to what we talked about before, is let's eat the frog. I mean, the thing is, I mean, why? Why do you want to embrace the suck, right? That's what we've been saying all along, is don't embrace the suck, right? Don't be a donkey in a shed, right? Don't run uphill, don't eat the frog. And here you're telling me, hey, just be what? Be things you don't want to be. What's the point?
I mean, it's a good question. I don't know the answer, and I don't know that anybody knows the answer to this. I guess what I was kind of getting to is, at that stage of your life, like, the conscious doing aspect is over. There is no more conscious doing every single day, and when you can't do anything anymore, when you're literally dying and you're leaving this world, there is no more conscious doing, and that sucks. Like, that's scary.
If let's say you're in pain, right? You have this pain that you're like last moment on earth, right? Are you saying, hey, be conscious of your pain, be conscious of the thing that you're leaving behind, right? That's what I'm hearing that's supposed to be, you're supposed to do. And I disagree with that. It's like
letting go, but it's like letting go of the conscious doing eventually. I'm not saying
no.
I think
me, the letting go is the different perspective from my mind. Is letting go of, say, there are certain things that, for whatever reason, you think is important, you need to let it go. For example, in my mind, if I know that, hey, I look like a fucking beaver, right? And people tell me be like majestic like an eagle, be like dominating like a lion. You should strive to do that. For me, if I'm not a lion, I should let go of all these things that is not me. Putting things down is not me, letting go, but embrace who you are. And once you embrace who you are, then you get to the point where you can be in a flow state, because you like to do the things that aligns with you. If you look at a kid, for example, right? Now imagine you have a son or daughter, and he or she grows up. Imagine if when he or she's trying to stand up and trying to walk, try to stop her from doing it. Try to stop a kid from trying to walk.
I understand what you're saying. I mean,
because what I'm saying is you there are certain things that make that person in a flow state, meaning that because human beings, we have the gene that needs to walk upright on 2 feet. Therefore, we, for whatever reason, are compelled to want to try to walk. You cannot. For me, like, if you say, well, the kid started walking and wobble, you just put them down, right? You cannot stop any kid with all the faculty in place from walking. And 100 out of 100, a million out of a million, 7 billion out of 7 billion of all human beings have walked.
So I agree.
So to me, this is called alignment with who you are, because that causes you to be in a flow state. When when you get to the point where hey, I'm a human being, I walk, right? That feels good. I don't want to walk on my knees and hands like the animals, you know.
Okay, hang on.
So this is when you
Meaningful
can
work.
be who you are, and you can be mindful because hey, look, I am in my state, in my zone, that I can do that. Just like you playing tennis, you're in the zone. You don't go in the zone in the meeting that is completely useless.
I agree. The pinnacle of our being in general is when you can connect conscious doing and conscious living together in the moment, i.e. flow state, and you can experience that as much as you can throughout the course of the day. You can't do that 24/7 in the course of the day. It's not possible, in my opinion. I mean, I shouldn't say it's not possible. I don't think that would even be fun. Like, I don't want to be in the flow state all fucking day. You know, like, I mean, like, that's even that would be like too much, in my opinion. That would be unbalanced. But that said, the rest of the day is a state of either unconscious doing, where you're just doing shit you don't want to do, or, you know, unconscious living. You know, like, there is a state that exists between, like, you know, that mecca that you're talking about, that I agree with. Like, but at a certain point in time, you can't do it anymore. You know, like, at a certain, no matter what, there will come a time when like, you will no
Well,
longer
that's
be
what
able
I'm
to
saying
be,
is the
the
flow
flow state
state.
will be less and less and less because you can't do it anymore. Like, so
Right, because what I'm saying is you look at a flow state as a state of being. I look at the flow state as the balance. As the balance,
oh, I
there
agree.
is
Yeah, I think both are
the
true.
inner core, because the flow state is okay. Because the thing is, you imagine going too far to the left, oh, it's too much. Imagine going too far to the right, oh, it's too much, right? Imagine being on a bicycle, right? You're gonna say, hey, I'm in a flow state this way, I'm supposed to. No, you're always constantly in a balance. When you're in a balanced state, that's a flow state. It's not a thing where you go, okay, this is a destination where you get to, and that's it. And say, well, that's too much flow state. No, the flow state is the actual balance, because for me and you, our center of balance are different for me and for you. So your center of balance, your center of flow state, it's going to be different.
Right.
Therefore, because the thing is, for me, I, for example, I think, okay, I'm a more of an introvert than you. So 80% of the time, I don't want to talk to anyone.
Right.
I just don't want to talk. But for you, you're a social kind of guy. 80% of the time, you want to socialize. You want to meet new people, want to talk to people.
I don't know about
That's
new
your
people, but
setup.
I like
Oh
talking to
well,
people. Yeah,
well,
yeah.
whatever,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
get you get that. You
yeah,
get the point. You get
yeah.
the point, right? That's what I'm saying is my center of balance is 80% thinking to myself, being by myself. I don't want
Right.
anyone like in my vicinity. I want to be like completely left alone. And at 20%, I want to do, you know, other things with people. That's my center of balance, and that gives me a flow state. For you, it's the other side. It's not the same for me and you, right? That means that a flow state for me is not having anyone talking to me. It's having the 20%. That's a flow state.
Right.
So for you, for example, let's say you want to play tennis, right? You only play like four of a 4 out of 5, 4 days out of 5 days, or 4 days out of the week, or whatever. That's your flow state, because it's not like all 7 days or all 24/7, because and it could be depending on who you are, but the flow state isn't to say that it's all this or all that. It's the balance of where you think you should be. You understand what I'm saying? Because
Yeah, yeah.
that's how I see you becoming balanced. Because you think about me, let's say I'm an introvert, right? And to me, to be by myself and do nothing, right? It's not good. I cannot be in the flow state. I said, well, there's no one here,
Right.
right? But because I know there's people around me, but I just want to sit in my room and do nothing.
No, I get what you're saying. Okay, when you get to the state of dying, like, it feels like as life goes on, your time that you can be in that flow state, I guess, if you will, that the connecting of those two, it's going to diminish, right? And then you're left with this, like, is there can you die better than somebody else? Like, no, you just die. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like conscious, like, so there is still.
So the thing is, let me ask you this question then. If you were to say, like you know, my life is at an end, right? You want an ending that is painful, or you want an ending that's peaceful? Which would you want?
I think you get both.
No. Let's say I throw you down like into some kind of a you know, throw you in a pit of despair, a bunch of, you know, snakes or whatever that scares you the most, or frogs, and I throw you in a pit of despair, or give you something that, you know, gently take you down to the path where you just completely become unconscious and leave the earth, right? That's the thing.
But how do you know
You
that
don't
wasn't painful to slowly lose all your meaningful work and your conscious doing and your flow state, and
but
like that's
it's
painful. That's painful.
it's either to pass,
That hurts a
to,
lot.
if you either to pass on in your sleep or pass on in a tragic accident. That's what I'm saying. Is, I mean, the thing, if you're looking at, I'm not saying it's one is better than the other. I'm just saying, hey, which one would you prefer? Some people prefer, I don't know.
I mean, I mean,
I just
a part of me would rather, if I was gonna die, I'd rather just die. Like, you know, like, I mean, instantaneous. Like,
no. I mean,
I'd rather.
you're talking about there are a lot of people who thinks that dying in your bed is shameful.
Who?
There are a
Who
lot
the
of,
hell? Who thinks that?
go back to the history, right? They rather die in a battle
Oh,
than
I see. I see. I see what you're saying.
to die. You know, there is a saying. I forgot what the saying is, but there is a
They'd
saying.
rather die doing something meaningful
They'd
and live
rather,
in their purpose. You know. Yeah.
right? They'd rather die in the battlefield. So
Yeah.
that's the gist of it. That I'm saying is that people are afraid of a meaningless death. Okay,
Yeah.
they would rather be in the battlefield and get gorged by spears and whatever, and rather than dying at home in bed, right? They want to die a heroic death. That's what they want. Okay, and so that's what I'm saying. It depends on the people, right? You want to project your wants and desire as that person to be whatever it is, because when somebody die, right, they imagine Jesus coming to get them, and they imagine the afterlife, whatever. They don't imagine, hey, this is the end, right? There's nothing, you know, to go to hell, whatever, right? They imagine something bad. I mean, that's why a lot of people, when they get older, right, they say they're always very devoted to religion for for obvious reason,
Right.
right? Is that, do you think about, to be, just exist?
That's because that's because they've been learning to let it go for a long time. Like they've been slowly watching stuff that they really care they
They're
really
letting
cared
it,
about.
no,
That
they are hanging on to the
I
possibility of
disagree.
going to a better place. That's what that's why they're devoted. I mean,
No, I don't. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think they've learned the lessons of life. Of they know, you know, there is another end of the spectrum. Like conscious doing, like you're talking about going out in the glory of battle or something like that, right? Like I get it. Like
no,
that would
I'm
be
just saying that's just certain people who has
no. I mean,
that.
I was saying like that. You're talking about going out doing meaningful work, right? Like
No,
that
I'm just
is
saying you're doing things that you value, not has nothing to do with this or that or other. It has, because every single thing that you do is subjective, and you did it because you want some kind of benefit. The selfish gene's still intact. It's going to say, well, I'm doing this because I want to get that. I'm doing this because I want to get this. Whatever the case, right? Because they say, well, I am devoted to religion. Because I don't want the alternatives,
but
because
doing
it's
nothing.
always that trade-off of saying, you know, because if you think, hey, you know, life, it's just, you just exist, and when you die, you just don't exist anymore. People look at that and they become despair because that's not what they're being told, or that's not what they think about. Then
I agree. Look, I'm not disagreeing with any of this stuff. I'm just saying that you can't discount the fact that at the end of the
you
day,
can't just
the,
exist. You have to live your life, because to me, just exist is like the living dead, right? you're dead inside. You have nothing to do. You just
But there's something
exist.
peaceful about just existing too. Like
no. To me, this is where we did differ, because thing is, to exist in a state in a flow state of who you are, that is a blissful existence.
That's ideal.
But to exist outside of that once is a miserable hell.
I don't know. I think we do actually disagree. I think this is the first time in a long time that we I like fundamentally disagree with you on this, only because conscious doing doesn't come with no anxiety. Like, I have anxiety about conscious doing. Like, I've talked to you about my anxiety around this project.
Maybe you're doing it wrong.
I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm saying, like, every day I have to consciously think, hey, look, Amelia, you and I are going to go do this, and I got to go find time, and I got to make sure that I don't run for other trains, and I got to say no to these other things so we can go do these things together, right? Like, I mean, and that doesn't come with no stress. Like, that doesn't come, even the act of
the stress
doing
came
this
because
stuff.
you running for a train, which is what you don't believe in. That's the stress come from. It's not because you want to do things with your daughter.
No, I agree, but I'm saying there is unconscious doing, which is running for trains and all the other stuff. There's conscious doing. But both of those activities, when you do anything, it comes with a certain level of stress. Like, it just does. Like, I mean, there is nothing that you can say. Like even the act that you're performing comes with stress. When I go on a run, I am literally stressing myself, whether or not I am mentally stressed. You know, I'm physically stressing
myself. Let's say you breathe, right? Do you stress when you breathe?
When I'm running, yeah.
No, I'm asking you running. I'm asking, like, you just breathe normally.
Sometimes.
Like right now, then you're doing something wrong. Your health is something wrong with your health, dude.
No, no, I'm saying when you say stress.
You and I were talking, right? Do you think about breathing?
Not until you just told me to think about breathing, but
exactly. But I'm saying is, when you're in a state where you're supposed to be, you don't feel any stress. You want to breathe. Imagine you stop breathing. What happens to you? How do you feel when you stop breathing? For 3 minutes.
I feel pretty good, honestly.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
6 minutes.
I mean, eventually I don't feel good. I mean, yeah.
20 minutes. Okay?
I die. Yeah.
I can push whatever you want to push.
Right,
but my point is still there. Because you think about it, right? The things that you do because you're made to do that, because we breathe in the oxygen, right? And we breathe out the carbon dioxide. So imagine you don't breathe in the oxygen. Or imagine you breathe all oxygen. You're going to suffocate. Imagine you don't exhale the CO2, right? You're going to suffocate too. Because I think it's the state of the ratio between the exchange of the oxygen and the CO2 that gives you your flow state. You don't feel any stress, any concern, any anxiety from breathing. And you want to breathe, and you say, well, I feel good. To me, that's a flow state. You can say, hey, I can walk up the mountain. You still have oxygen, you still have carbon dioxide, but the exchange is not what the optimal pivot, optimal core of your balance is. You feel anxious. You feel like you're huffing and puffing, and it's hard to breathe. To me, that's my point, because you can't say, well, I'm going to be existing, or I'm going to do, whatever to do that. The thing is, the pain comes to tell you, hey, you are not where you're supposed to be. It's kind of push you to left or right to the point where you need to kind of like settle down in a state where that's who you are. Then once you have that, then be more conscious of that, be existing in that state, in that flow state, more than the other. You still have the anxious and concern because you and I, like me and you are not completely in a flow state, because we still have other things in society that we have to be responsible for. I can't just take my kids out of school today. It's just because the society say, hey, you have to take your kids to school, otherwise I'm going to put you in jail. You have truancy, blah, blah, blah. It's a bunch of non-BS things you have to deal with. You are taking your son to daycare. That's something that you don't agree with, but it's not like you can do anything about it. You still have to go to this meeting because you still have to put food in. You still have to pay taxes. They enforce this tax on you to say, hey, to live here, you need to pay taxes. So in order for you to pay taxes, you need to work, right? So
Right.
the anxiety comes from the things that you're doing, like the running for train that you don't want to do, but it isn't because of the doing of anything that aligns to your core values, right? It's just a thing that you do because there are certain residuals of the societies and of the things that you do to kind of get to the center of your gravity that is going to be the concern comes from, just like when you ride on a bike, right? You're not completely like professional at that point, right? You're gonna lean a little bit and you say, oh, I'm gonna lean and then back, right? The act of over leaning to one side and to another side causes anxiety, but the balancing part of it isn't. But once you have the balance and the full control of that bicycle, then you're like you're only thinking about like, hey, the wind in my face or the going downhill and I'm going this fast and I feel exhilarating or whatever. You don't think about the balancing or the concern of the sway to the left or the sway to the right, right? That's when you get to the point where because the thing is, don't run for train is a concept that we practice, right? But it's not to the point where you are really 100% in control over that art. Just like riding a bicycle, you're not 100% in control of that bicycle, because when you first start to learn, you're gonna wobble. You're gonna wobble
Yeah.
because that's the balance is off, and you feel, oh, I'm scared, I'm anxious, right? That's a concern.
I mean, I think on this particular topic, I'm not disagreeing with anything you just said. Like I 100% like we talked about yesterday. We're in lockstep alignment as to the ideal state that you and I would both rather be in. But I can't discount the fact that just existing exists. Like, I mean, like it doesn't mean that just because you could strive to do all the things you're talking about doing, but sometimes there is no point to anything. Like, sometimes it is just be, like and sometimes you just got to be happy with that. Like, in my opinion, these days, at least that's what I'm trying to work on.
Well, to me, that's where there's a fine line between what you said and what we are striving to do. Because if you say be happy with where you are, right, and you are happening to be eating the frog for whatever reason, right? You eating the frog for the past 40, 50, 30 years, whatever, however however long you've been eating that frog, and then you say, well, be happy, I'm eating the frog.
I mean, I think
So
that
concept.
we're talking about two different things. You're talking about the art of living, and I agree with you. Like, the art of living and living to the fullest is don't eat the frog. It's run downhill. It's conscious doing, combining all the stuff that we just talked about. But then there's also like the art of just existing too. Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there is something to.
I mean,
This,
I don't understand what you're saying by just the art of just existing. Explain to me what you mean by that. I
I
think
mean,
I'm still confused when you say the
we're
art of
here.
just existing.
We're here, and then we're not. Like, and that's that. Like, I mean, and like that is a part of our reality. Like, we can fill that time with whatever we want to fill that time with, but at the same time, like, and that's the art of living. If you want, if what we're talking about is like, how can you make that? How can you maximize that time? Not maximize. How can you make sure that you spend as much time as you can in the. Cause I'm trying to use words that are not superlative or like outcome driven. The art of living is the art of embracing this earth and your existence to the fullest, right? Of every single minute of every single day that you have the privilege to be on this earth. I'm saying there is that isn't, in my opinion. I'm not going to say that's not possible, but I don't know that I would even want to live my entire existence in that state either. I
mean, to me, it's like this. You're telling me that, hey, I'm a beaver. Sometimes I gotta be a lion. That's what you're saying to me.
No,
That's
I'm not.
That's what I'm hearing.
I'm saying sometimes you got to still be a beaver, but do nothing. Like, when you say I got to be a beaver,
No, doing nothing is part of being a beaver.
Well, no, it's not, because when you say I got to be a beaver, what you mean is I got a dam. Like, and that's what you mean. That's you're like,
This is what I said to you before. Okay, This is what they call flow state. Flow state is not a destination. It's not an object. It's not a place to be. It is the constant balance. The core of your balance is called flow state, meaning that when you are damming, right? You're damming 80% and you do nothing 20%. That is the art of the getting to the center of the star. But if you're at 40, 60, 40 or 40, 60, right? That's not balanced, and you don't want to exist in 60, 40. You want to get to the point where you are completely rested in that cusp of the center of your balance. Then, because that's what I'm saying is doing nothing is part of being a beaver, because he don't want to build dams every minute, every second of his life. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's part of the center of the balance for him, the way he is the best beaver is he's 80%, whatever the ratio is, 80%, 20%, 80% building dams and 20% do nothing, or whatever the ratio is. And that's what I'm saying, right? That's why I'm telling you, like for me, it's like I like to be left alone 80% of the time, right? And go talk to people 20% of the time, or whatever the thing is. But that's how I feel I should be. And I cannot be happy if I do be alone by myself 100%, not even 99%, not even 85% of the time, right? Not even 90%, because it's not my ideal core balance, center of balance for me on that grand spectrum, right? And for you, it's a different state. So part of the beaver is not doing anything, doing nothing, right? Part of that is included. That's what I meant.
But what happens when you're a beaver and you can no longer dam?
Then that's when you cease to exist. You die.
I don't think so.
No one can ever live past beyond the ability to achieve their purpose. If you have a purpose and you want to do it and you don't have the ability to do that anymore, then you cease to exist. You will die. You have no will to live, and that's the important part. Is the will of your expression is so important. People die early or late because they have a will. Some people can last longer than predicted because they have a will to live, or people who die quicker because they don't have the will to live. No one exists, just exists.
I think that I need to think about this one more, because it's an interesting. I know we are disconnected on this one for some reason, and I'm not sure that I.
It's the understanding, right? It's understanding, because to me this is a pretty complex topic, and
it is. That's what I'm saying.
It needs to have an understanding, and what I understand may be different from what you understand. We can probably look at the same object, but we're describing it differently. And for me, it's like the flow state, and what you're seeing is one part of it. Like I say, I see doing nothing is part of the cumulative object that we're looking at, right? Versus just, hey, I'm doing dams all day long, or I'm playing tennis all day long. So for me, is I'm looking at that object, and you may be like, hey, yeah, I'm looking only at this part versus the other part. And this is where the disconnect comes in, until you can discuss more about it, and you get to the point where, okay, you agree that this part here, it's what we see. It's both green, or it's both whatever. We start to agree, and we start to explore more, then we may come to the same understanding of what we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on. I think we are. I think more discussion is warranted around this particular topic, because, like, I think we're not aligned on this one yet, and not that we always have to be, but I mean, I want to understand what you're saying.
You cannot be aligned if you don't understand.
Right. That's the whole. That's a great point.
The whole point of learning, it is so that what do you see that I cannot see, and then you can tell me about it. You and I are like, let's say you and I are standing back to back, right? I'm looking west and you're looking east. There's no way you can see what I see.
Right. And actually, I think
right?
here's
And I can't see what you see, so that's why I'm talking to you. I say, hey, I'm seeing the fucking sun.
right.
You say, I don't see the sun,
Well,
right?
well, so actually, that to that line of thought, I don't know that I even know what I'm not seeing on this other side of the spectrum, because we spend so much time, at least
Well,
you and I spend so much time talking
we
about,
need more discussion. Just like imagine like the sun, right?
right. We don't
One
explore this
time
other
is
side.
on the east side, one time's on the west side. The
Right.
moment you see it and I don't see it, right? You can say, well, yeah, I see the same thing. No, we can't.
We don't explore this side as much as we explore the other side. So like I feel like you and I, when we talk about conscious doing, we know exactly what we're talking about. Like when we're talking about conscious living, I don't know that you and I know exactly what either one of us are talking about yet, because we haven't spent as much time exploring that aspect of all this stuff as we've done on the other end of the spectrum. So I'm saying that on my own end, I'm not educated enough I haven't refined my own thoughts and reflected and done actions and like gone down a road where I can even eloquently even describe to you what I'm even trying to say. So if I can't understand exactly what I'm trying to say, like, then how the hell are you going to? And then it's going to end up in these kind of conversations and vice versa, right?
I think that's the process.
Right.
It's for us to say, hey, I'm seeing this. You seeing that?
I just know
I
there's
say, well,
value.
okay, explain more. What do you mean
Right.
you see? Then eventually we have a more common link between what we see and then, oh, the sun actually moved from the east to the west,
Right.
right? I say,
Yeah.
okay, it's actually a fucking same sun. It's not a different sun. It's the
No,
same fucking sun that we looked at. You know, it just depending on the time of day we're looking at it. Then it make more sense, right? But right now I'm painting one picture, and you're painting another picture, right?
right.
You say, hey, the shadow is casting this way, and I say, there's no shadow.
Right. I guess I want to go explore my own a little bit further. Maybe I'll do meditation as my challenge next month or something like that, because like and maybe that'll give me something to a little bit more of a basis point to have this conversation, because I know the feeling of feeling nothing, and there isn't. Sometimes it's nice, like when it's done
Right. That's what I'm saying.
intentionally,
That's
right?
no.
Like
This is what I'm saying is when you are in a flow state, when you feel nothing, it feels nice. Because imagine you have all the faculty, you're healthy, you have no concern.
yeah,
Whenever you have that and you do nothing, it feels nice. But what happens if your fucking head is pounding you because you have this fucking migraine, and then you say, well, I want to be nothing.
yeah,
No, it doesn't work. It does not work. You think about it. I'm talking about in a state where you're healthy, nothing's hurting, nothing's concerning. You don't have to, worry about money to
right,
pay for whatever, right? Because you're in a state where you're supposed to be, and you like, hey, I just want to feel nothing. Oh
right.
yeah, it feels good. But
You're talking
when you
you're
have
talking
like
about
stress,
intentional. You're talking about intentional living, like
but it exists in pain when you have a headache, a splitting headache. To
oh,
exist and to
I agree with
meditate
that.
when
Like
you do that,
that's
right? It's you
I
can't exist.
I agree with that. That's no different than saying like, oh, I do conscious doing. I'm busy from the moment that I wake up until the moment that I go to bed. And I'm like, you're doing it wrong. Like you shouldn't be doing that all day. Like clearly you can't possibly, like, yes, you do have meetings scheduled all day long. And yes, you are doing a lot of things, like consciously doing a lot of things, but like it's not with intentional design behind it. There is no there, that's unconscious to me. Like that's unconscious doing.
Yeah,
Like you're talking
just
about
like what I'm
unconscious
saying. No,
living.
just like what you're saying is if I take you up the mountain and let you sit there, right? Let you sit there and tell you to exist. It's gonna suffer. You're gonna suffer. You can't. You say, oh, this because you can't breathe because your ratio of oxygen and carbon dioxide, and because the air thinner up in the mountain, right? Like you're not used to it yet. I'm just gonna take a helicopter and plug you up and put you on a mountain. Let you sit there, right? I sit there in a cold air with different temperature and different ratio of air, right? And let you sit there and tell you to be existing, to be conscious of your existing. that to me is hellish, because you're not in a core of your balance, meaning that you're used to the ratio of air here, right, and temperature here that you used to be, right? You here, when you say, hey, I can meditate and I can do nothing and feel nothing, oh, it feels nice, because you're at a place where you're supposed to be, and you put yourself in a place you're not supposed to be and tell you to exist. That is going to be miserable for you.
I don't disagree with that at all. All right, I think we're gonna have to put a pin on this one, and revisit it in the future, because I have to go run for some trains, but you know, we're not, nobody's perfect, but anyway, any final thoughts? Question we could leave for everybody, as well as you know, what would it feel like if you just let go every once in a while and just existed? But any final thoughts?
What I'm saying is, that's what I'm saying is, you know, you have to think about what does this exist means to you.
I agree. I mean, that's a good question. Definitely something that
like you can say, well, what does letting go mean? Let go who I am, letting go what it, you know, what does it mean to you? And to exist, what does it mean to exist for you? That's subjective.
Well, for me, it means letting go of sometimes of my conscious doing, which is very much so
letting go of things, the things you're doing now that doesn't.
I didn't say I don't do them. I'm saying letting go of the fact that it's okay sometimes if I don't do it. You know what I mean? Like, it not like,
right, because I'm saying is, you know,
anyway, yeah.
If you're doing things today, and then you say, well, I need to let go because that is not important to me. So, for example, I say, hey, you, Chris, give me Luca. Let go of your son. Would you do it? If I tell you, Chris, let go of Miria, let me take over her memory, and you just let her go. I'll pay you $1 million fucking dollar. Would you let go? That's what I mean when I'm saying there's certain things that value you. You're letting go of things not important to you. That is the right letting go.
You're that was a really interesting comment, but all right, I gotta go. I gotta put a pin on it. All right. Well, we will see you all tomorrow, and
right.
I will have an answer for you then. Okay.
Looking forward to it. Okay. See you guys. Bye.